Oh.
Oh, hello. I mean, we are they just starting.
Hmm.
Um, I had to get my layout
I'm
set up
still
for this.
I'm still in that chapter that I mentioned to you. Yeah, no, Duo's just like crap. I gotta make sure I don't hit the cockpit. Uh,
yeah.
I did not expect to have to fight Koji.
Yeah. That's good.
Also his stats boosted because he's a boss now.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
I have to beat him is the thing. I don't get an option.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. I just. The good thing about this being the English version is that it is a lyricless version of Way Wanderer, so I don't feel bad about talking over it.
Yeah.
Because I do think this is actually a good song. But God, fucking, I did not expect the day before I was going to be starting Project Cross Zone for Bad Presto and Bad, and kind of like, by the way, here's new SR news. Also, Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like,
The fact that we're gonna have to fight fucking Goji in a super robot game is something.
not
Alright.
only are we going to get to see Wing Zero and Amuro shooting a fucking Godzilla, we're also going to see a Valkyrie fighter and what's it called? Why am I drawing a blank? Oh yeah, we're also gonna see Mazin. Though I am of the belief, and I've told you about this, I am theorizing that we are going to see Zero again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've already got two singularities with Get a Emperor from Arc and with Godzilla itself. Yeah. No,
It's gonna be great.
it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to this. I know a couple people are upset that Endless Waltz is back, mostly because of the fact we just had Endless Waltz in X. But I mean, I'm not surprised.
Okay,
I don't get why
but
everyone's so
we also like just had
victory.
Seed in
V.
V.
I know. I know.
What are
People
the
are
people
upset about
complaining
Seed
about?
too. I think some people. I don't know, but So if I may,
People just can't be satisfied.
yeah, no, it's the same issue with say, Smash Bros. It's no one's gonna be happy with the roster, and I just realized I didn't have this set up. So yeah, went through a little bit of a setup with this just because first time we're streaming a 3DS game. I the nice thing about Project Crawl Zone is the bottom screen is not really necessary, so we can just kind of leave it down there. If it has anything of importance, I'll pull it up. I have a window capture already set up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so now we're in the world is basically. Let's talk about the base world we're working with. I'm going to be treating this like how I do Super Robot Wars, where I will describe what elements are involved in the base world, and we'll go from there. So, Project Crawl Zone, for those unaware, is a massive crossover game involving Capcom, Sega, and Bandai Namco. The base world here includes the likes of Resident Evil, up to the events of Resident Evil Revelations. Then there's also the previous crossover game, Namco X Capcom. That is considered canon. We've also got Tekken, Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, Devil May Cry. I'm trying to think what else is in just the base world. There's a lot of shit in just the base world. Oh, and also the very popular game called The World. Which, I mean, we've talked about The World before.
Mm-hmm.
This one's crazy, but we're also going to see a couple familiar faces from previous projects and a very familiar enemy. Hey, there's the other one we also have here. We're going to see throughout a bunch of the different worlds. That one we know, anyone who knows Mega Man knows, is cyberspace. So yeah, this is a wild game, and the creator of Devil May Cry is apparently constantly kicking himself over this franchise. I've told you this story, Sean. For those,
Yeah.
for those unaware, the creator of Devil May Cry was offered to have Bayonetta in the sequel, apparently, and he said no because they wanted Dante and Bayo to meet on his terms, and now he's kicking himself because it's probably never gonna happen. And here is our OG character, one of our OG characters, me. And let's see, am I for to appear? There he is. Me and Kogoro. So, unique thing about Carlzone, and this is gonna be a thing. Yeah, I noticed this. Whenever we do any of these games, the first part is always just me explaining like the tutorials and shit.
Yep.
It's kind of just the problem with all these games. But Carlzone is unique in its a tactics game in that you are not controlling one unit. All units are paired.
Yeah, this is different compared to, say,
Super Robot Wars.
Namco Cross Capcom, which was the previous game in this series.
Yeah, from that one it was a lot more. They were solo units still.
They were primarily solo units, but I think there were some pairs depending on the characters.
Yeah, going forward is entirely pairs. Normally,
yeah, solo units were also just actual units.
Yeah,
but there were pair units as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, in this game, it's all paired units, but solo units are a support attack. Also, compared to other tactics game, the only other tactics game that I personally played that behaves like this is, I say Valkyria Chronicles, where there's an actual control element in the combat. I can't, because in Valkyria you can actually aim.
The thing is, right, this is more of a tactics game with
ARPG elements.
With light combo mechanics,
yeah.
I'd say.
In terms of the paired units, with a few exceptions to this one, it's usually paired between games. So, with the fact that we saw Mega Man X's cyberspace, we could say, obviously, X and Zero are going to be a paired unit.
Yeah.
I mean, would we have it any other way? A few exceptions we'll go over as they come up. Crosszone 1 is a little bit more serious in its storytelling. Crosszone 2 is where they kind of go off the rails and just like, fuck it, we're probably not doing this again. Jokes! Get us Phoenix right!
Like, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Reiji and Xiaomu, which are characters that will appear later on in this, right? They were the protagonists of
the last game,
Namco Cross Capcom, right?
Yeah.
So of course they were a pair unit.
That makes sense.
A different pair unit was Klonoa and Guntz.
Really?
Yes, Klonoa was in Namco Cross Capcom.
Oh no. The Wild. Can I be honest? You know what the Wild one is? There's technically 4 games in this franchise.
Yes.
So for those unaware, the 4 games are Namco X Capcom, Project Carlzone 1, Project Carlzone 2, but there was a game that came out in between the 2 Carlzones that I want to save talking about till one of the later prologues, because it does come up.
Like,
what's wild though about that other crossover game though is the fact that one of the characters in it is fucking Cosmos.
Yes, Cosmos. I mean, you say that, right? But Shion and Momo, I were in
the same
game as well.
True. Okay, so yeah, standard controls. Yeah. Do you have any weapons?
Yeah. You wanna know how weird the roster of Namco Cross Capcom was?
I know. I remember. I watched that video a lot. I know a lot of the characters in it. I know. Yes. First off, Volnut.
Yes, but that's not the weird thing. No, the weird thing is the characters from fucking Resident Evil Dead Aim are in that game.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, I can't wait till we get to later.
Here's another one. The male protagonist, Bruce from Dead Aim, right?
Yeah.
He was paired up with Regina from Dino Crisis.
I fucking love these games. Also, we haven't talked about the... Wait, no. We haven't talked about the most...
No. Here's one of the wildest ones, right? Also, Cosmos was in the previous game as well.
Yeah, I know that. So it's Telos.
Here's one of the wilder ones. The protagonist of Dig Dug was in there.
Right, he was.
Yes, he was.
Okay. I've talked about this fact multiple times already on stream. I believe I've talked about it on Strangers. I believe I talked about it in Zelda. I forget if I mentioned Kingdom Hearts. That opening cutscene, beautifully animated. If anyone feels that the animation style looks familiar, this was the very first animated project by Studio Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind, it was not the director's first time working with them. He did the opening animation for Namco X Capcom. Which is... Both of these openings are considered, like, the peak of his art style. Just because of the fact he was allowed to do whatever he wanted. And I really think the angular, like, dramatic style works very well for the fighting game characters. Like Jin and Ryu.
Yeah.
Also, I can appreciate Koger. I wonder about the wisdom of giving guns to high school girls. And everyone in the clan has them. They are a clan of fighting monks, and he's a detective carrying swords. And he refuses to teach her ninjutsu. He apparently, he's taught her fake ninjutsu, just like gag ninjutsu, which I just imagine it's like a fucking Aqua. Like, I've learned great magic, it's just create water. Well, we haven't even got to talk about the fun characters. We'll talk about the fun characters later.
Like, there were Captain Commando characters in the previous...
Captain Commando shows back up in 2!
I know!
And X
Which is why people were... Which is one of the things that people were just like, huh?
No. I think that if we're talking about the roster too, really quick, the one that made everyone just go, what the fuck? Was Segata fucking Sanshiro.
This is true. But like, you say that we have like no serious. We have
no.
This game has never been serious.
It's never been serious. I'd say 1 was crazy. Like Capcom was crazy. 2 is much more grounded with its story, and in terms of its writing, they go way more into the comedy in 2. In particular, with Segata, X, and Zero have a couple good bits. The Resonance cast is fantastic. Kite and Haseo have a constant back and forth over the fact that Haseo keeps calling Skeeth.
Yeah.
He's like, please stop.
Please stop.
So
another thing, the opening for Namco Cross Capcom was done by Production IG.
Yep.
You might know them for things like Ghost in the Shell, Psycho-Pass.
Yeah, it's really good. So, one thing okay, so kind of talk about the game really quick. So the way combat works is you have... Every character has a total of 5 commands. You start an attack with the A button, and then you can actually choose to do different attacks with your directional input. There is a command, especially with the Y command, but you need a full... That percent bar needs to be at least 100, capped at 150. And there is, as my guest has previously mentioned, a combo element. This whole game is just built around juggling enemies.
You need to time your button inputs so you catch the enemies mid-combo so you can keep it going.
Ideally, in this one, you want to use all 3 of your commands, and then you'll sometimes get access to a 4th attack for free.
You'll eventually get a 4th button input as well.
Yeah.
But that is not important right now.
Yeah, currently we only have 3. The other directional commands come available as the character's level. And unlike normal tactics games we play where there's an enemy phase and a player phase, this is a turn order. So I'm actually going to pull up the second window.
Based off of your movement speed for your units.
Pulling up my secondary window, as you can see, and it's a little bit off screen. Give me a second, let me fix that. There we go.
Maybe switch it to hybrid mode?
I kind of want to leave it on this just because of the fact the bomb screen doesn't do much. It just shows turn order. And I'd rather have, like, the dialogue be as blown up as possible.
Yeah, it's just gonna be cutting off a corner of the screen right now.
Yeah, until like this dialogue is on. So you can see up at the top we've got the turn order, and it also you can basically use the touchscreen to cycle through and check everyone's stats. In terms of responses, unlike say, I'm going to do a lot of comparison to Super Robot Wars as these are both Banpresto titles. So, or at least they worked on both of them if I remember correctly. Either way, citation needed though, because Banpresto does appear in the opening for this in terms of like, you know, the company credits.
Yeah.
I know Monolith is heavily involved too. But yeah.
I wonder why they would be involved.
I mean, we've already mentioned Cosmos and Project Crossroad 2. I hear a man screaming. But yeah, you have to use the I'm not going to call it XP because we always call that experience. We'll call it extra points. And you need these to use the special I was talking about. But you can spend 20 to basically do a counter, 20 to do a defend, or if you're worried an attack's going to kill a unit, 60 to receive no damage.
Yep. This is similar to how the Super Robot Wars games have you respond through countering, through
evading or defense.
Evading or defense, yeah.
The only difference is those ones are done for free, but at no cost outside maybe energy.
Yeah.
This one, it's you enter a counter state. If you do counter, you'll take full damage.
One input.
One input, so make sure it's a good one. But it can also be used to deal some good chip damage. Also, that P at the lower bottom, they have been poisoned. I don't think I need to explain. A poison command. It only lasts for one turn, though.
If you know what poison is, you know what poison is. In other news, water is indeed wet. And fire is hot.
If you do overkill an enemy, keep hitting because of the fact that you'll keep building experience, extra points down at the bottom.
Yep, it's always worth it to
overkill
everything.
Also, if you do, not only do you get extra points, you also get I forget if it's this one or that's a Crossroad 2 thing. You'll get extra rewards like more experience, more money, that kind of stuff.
I think it does increase your EXP gain depending on your combo total at the end of it.
Yeah, there's a combo total, an overkill total. There's a bunch of stuff that's tracked. And also set about 100. Let's overkill this fucker.
It's always best to use your full combo before using your super.
Because the super is a free input.
Plus, it can interrupt your combo.
Yeah. So if you have a some characters have combos that are really good as finishers. So if you're going to, right before the finisher, or right after whatever is its heaviest input, use the special so you can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, like, depth to the combat, especially with some of the other characters later.
We haven't even gotten our first solo unit yet.
Yeah,
that's when it's gonna get really fun.
Yeah. There are 3 status effects in this game. It is Daze, Stun, and Poison. Oh, no, not Daze. It's, actually, Paralysis. I forgot about that one. Paralysis means that the character can move for however long the paralysis lasts. Poison, heavy damage. Stun means they can't counter. It doesn't last long, but it denies both foe and ally alike. Whoever's afflicted with cannot use the counter command. And Daze is the same as Stun, it's just they are different resistance values. There's also barriers, but we'll get into that when we get into barrier breakers. And the best one, I'll be honest, best barrier breaker in Crossroad 2 is the fucking Yakuza.
Yeah. In other news, I don't know where I was going with that, never mind.
And I thought you were going to go towards the sun with Majima.
In other words, in other news, Goro Majima has once again disarmed a bomb by slamming his head into it.
Blessed psychopath that he is.